Hey, what's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another episode of the Living the Life Show. I'm your host, Columbus Cody. I thank you so much for tuning in. We have a special show today. It's Father's Day. I want to say happy Father's Day to all the men out there that are standing on your post, proudly being the fathers that you are called to be, that we are called to be. Fatherhood is a special thing. It's something that we can never take for granted. It is something that we should honor and cherish. It is one of the greatest roles you will ever play as a man. So, again, happy Father's Day to everyone. Today's a special show in that you won't hear from just me. You're going to hear from several callers who've called in, left a message explaining what's something impactful that their father had taught them. All right, so we're going to go through their calls, let you hear their voices, and then we'll discuss it just briefly from their standpoint and how it could be something that will bless all of us and something that you can apply to your life as a father. Okay, because not all of us grew up with our fathers. And if you grow up without your father, you might feel like, I don't really know how to be a father. I feel like I'm behind the eight ball on being a father. Well, you can learn from other great fathers. You can learn from stories of other great fathers. So even if your father wasn't in your life, no excuse for us to not be in our children's lives. It's time for us to step it up because this is our God given duty. We've brought that life into the world, and now it's our duty to stand in the gap and to show them Christ, and then show them how to become greater men and greater women so that this world is a better place because of our seed, our offspring. So the first caller today is the one and only Lily Joy, and let's see what she has to say.
Hello, my name is Lily Joy. My father is Bishop Willie H. Joy of the Mount Vernon Missionary Baptist Church. The Bible says that the glory of the children is the father, and God has blessed me and my siblings with an amazing dad. One lesson that he taught us that will forever be with us is to put God first in everything that we do. So if we put God first and stand up for him, then we will reap an abundance of blessings because he's going to make sure that he's there standing up for us. So have a great day. Happy Father's Day. Bye.
All right. Thank you so much, Lily. I really appreciate you calling in, and I truly appreciate what your father has taught you, and it is a very valuable lesson. You have to keep God first. Put God first in your life. And if we allow God to be first in our lives, it is something that will trickle down to our children as well, our offspring. So, as her father told her, keep God first. Now, here's the thing, as fathers, we can't tell our children to put God first if we won't do the same. So, let's lead by example in that area. Our next caller is a good friend of mine, goes way back, Mr. Todd Cyphers. Let's see what Todd has to say.
Hi, this is Todd Cyphers from Nashville, Tennessee. I think the greatest thing my dad taught me was to always have integrity, and he showed that as we were growing up with my brother and I. Specifically, remember one instance where my brother and I collected baseball cards, and we went to the store to buy them, and we actually had saved up money for a complete box of cards. We got up, we paid and left, and my dad got to the car and said, man, that didn't feel like they charged us for the box of cards. And when we looked at the receipt, they hadn't. It was only for one pack of cards. So we walked back into the store, asked to speak with the manager, and the manager came up and said, sir, that's our mistake. You guys can have it for that. And my dad said, no, these boys saved up money to buy a box of cards, and we're going to buy a box. And so we paid for the full amount. So it was just very impactful looking back on it as a young kid that we went back in and did the right thing.
Outstanding. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful words. Thank you so much, Todd, for calling in. I truly can appreciate what your father had done for you. And some people would see that it's a blessing that you got out without having to pay the full price. But your father saw a bigger lesson, a deeper lesson, in that you need to see that you have to pay for what you get. There's no shortcuts in life, and you have to have integrity. If someone else makes a mistake that influences or impacts you, but it's something that may be in your favor, but it's a disadvantage for them, you have the position now to make things right. And that's a very valuable lesson to have. Some people may not agree with us. Some people may feel like, well, that's their fault. They should have caught that. And I appreciate that your father showed you from a young age that's not how life works. And if we're going to be believers, if we're going to be Christians, we want to make sure that we do everybody right. All right. Our next caller is the one and only Ricky. Little Ricky. Little Ricky. All right, this is my cousin, you guys. I love this guy. He's a father of 3 girls. This guy is the father of 3 girls. How does he have hair? I don't know. But this is what he had to say. Did you know that you could actually support the YouTube channel and podcast? That's right. If you have a desire to be a blessing to the show, there's many different ways you can do it. We have Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, and you can use the website to make a donation. Any donation will help, and every donation will be used to pour into the lives of others. So if you want to click on the description of this video, you can find all of the information you need to make a donation. God bless you. And thank you for your support.
The most impactful thing my father taught me was to take care of your children, to be there for your children, and to love your children. Thank you.
Beautiful, 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 Ricky. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing that. Your father said it beautifully. Excuse me. You have to take care of your family. You have to take care of your family. And taking care of our family is more. I repeat, it is more than just financially taking care of them. I'll never forget, I was playing golf with a gentleman one time years ago. I can't remember his name, but he was talking about how he made the children. He did his duty. It was his wife's job to take care of them. Like he supports them financially, but it was her job to do everything else. And I was thinking, wow, I wonder how his children turned out. I wonder the kind of relationship they have with their father, because I love to spend time with my sons. I love to train them right. I love to coach them through their errors and their mistakes. I couldn't imagine saying to myself, I brought you in the world and I take care of you financially. Everything else is up to your mom. That kind of saddened my heart to hear him say that, but it blessed my heart to hear Ricky say, you have to take care of your family. And that is very, very true. All right, next caller, my good man, good friend, Steve Wright. Thank you so much, Steve, for calling in. Let's see what Steve has to say.
Hello, this is Steve Wright. And I think the most impactful thing that my father taught me was don't be quick to judge, and don't look down on anyone, because you never know what that person's been through, and to also have compassion for people. And I think I have, for the most part, done that. And I miss him. He's been gone. It'll be 24 years this month, and he's taught me a lot of things, but that's what stands out. Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree with this. And this is something that we all battle, because we do find ourselves quickly judging situations and judging people, their lives, and not knowing the whole story. If we can just slow down in our judgment, slow down in convicting or in holding people to a standard that we won't even hold ourselves to. If we will slow down, and especially as fathers, we have to do that with our own children. Slow down, don't condemn them, coach them through their error, coach them through their mistakes. Don't judge them. Don't judge everybody. Give people a chance to grow. Give them the grace to grow. If we do that, I guarantee you, one, our children will honor us because they see the grace that we give them, and they will also be gracious men and gracious women toward other people. All right, our next caller. Let's see who we got next. Next, we got my good man Dawson, one of my Navy buddies from way, way back. I appreciate you calling in, Dawson. Let's see what you have to say.
Hello, this is Marquise Dawson, Valley, Alabama. The thing that my dad taught me that I think that I find as a most interesting thing would be to be multifaceted, to be versatile, to not be one-dimensional, to have different ways and be able to fit into different environments where I could be in the boardroom as one person and fit in. I can be at the gym as a person to fit in. I can be around the neighborhood and fit in. So I can be a businessman. I can be a janitor. I can wear different hats and I can still fit in and I can still put my imprint on society through those ways. So I think that is one major factor and one thing that my dad taught me that I feel is one of the better things from my life.
One of the things I've always admired about this young man, Dawson, is that what he said is so true. He can mingle among the best of them. The boardroom, the ball court, wherever he's at, he is a person that is approachable. He's a person that is knowledgeable. And I think as a man, as a father, that is one of the greatest things we could pass down to our children as well, is to be the type of person that can influence and impact every environment that you are in. We're called to let our light shine as believers. And when you let your light shine, you are an impact to your environment. One of my greatest desires in life is wherever I go is to encourage the souls of somebody and to make sure that they know that Jesus is in my heart. And because he's in my heart, they have access to God through me, because I will pour whatever I have, whatever I know into them if they desire that from me. So Dawson, again, I thank you for calling in and for sharing that information. Next up is the one and only Tam. Bam, bam, Tam. We go way back as well, way back to the TSU days. One of my favorite people, one of the best coaches you'll ever know. Let's see what Tam has to say.
This is Tamara Washington, and the thing that I can remember distinctively that my father taught me was simply in his own indirect way in everything was the meaning of hard work and ethics and effort, should I say, to do everything in excellence, to never wait to the last minute. So that's what I can remember in anything and everything, whether it was cleaning the house, keeping the car clean, doing your homework, any minute thing in life. Do it to the best of your ability. Don't cut corners, and give your absolute best. I think that's why I'm such a hard worker to this day.
Yeah, hard work. Hard work. Now, if you would have seen all of Tam's teams play, they all played with heart. You could tell they were brought up with her thought process, with her motives, with her agenda, and that was hard work. Maybe they weren't always as talented, but they always worked hard. That is one thing I've always admired about Tam as well, because her work ethic was contagious. And believe it or not, our work ethic will trickle down to our children. So keep working hard, gents, because when you do, you're setting your children up for success as well. All right, who's up next? Let's see here. Let's see. All right, let me see. That was Tam. Now we're moving on to my brother-in-law, Andrew Dixon. Andrew Dixon, let me hear what you have to say about your father, who I truly admire and honor as well. All right, Andy, you're up.
Mr. Cody, this is Andrew Dixon. The most impactful thing my father taught me through life, to summate it or sum it up, would have to be
to live with character and integrity. I've had so many things that my dad has taught me over the years: how to drive, how to fly a plane, I've helped him do surgery, carpentry. There's so many things. But through all those things, he taught me how to be kind to people and how to live with integrity. And I think that sums it up to being the most important thing to carry with you throughout life.
Yeah. One of the things I've always admired about my father-in-law, Doc, is that he was a man of integrity. He was a man that had character. He treated people right. I just watched him from afar and seen how he handled people. He was a person that could have been bougie and had his nose in the air, but he never was. He was kind to everyone. And the things that he taught you to do, I wish that my sons would have had the opportunity to spend that time with their grandfather and learn some of those things as well. So God bless you, Andy. Thank you so much for calling in, for sharing that. And yes, you keep on striving to be that man of integrity, that man of character. I've observed you for years and how you've dealt with your family, with your son and your daughter. This is a beautiful thing. You got men that will not drive 10 minutes across town to see their children, and here you are driving 10 hours up the road just to see them for 1-2 hours for that play or that production that's going on, and then driving all the way back. I admire you as a father, sir. All right, next up, someone I've grown to truly appreciate his knowledge, his wisdom, the one and only Mr. Acapinti. What do you have to say, sir?
Hi, this is Tom Acapinti. One story I recall, though, is pay a man what he's due, but pay him when he's done. And what that was about was I was having work done in my house, and someone wanted me to pay him in advance, and my dad pulled me aside and said, that happened to me one time. He said, and I felt bad, and I gave old Salvador the $100 to come back over the next weekend to throw the grass seed for me. And he was a good old man, good Italian man. I said, sure, here you go, here's $100. And at that point, my father stopped telling the story. I said, so I'm assuming there's an end to this story? And he said, an end to it? He said he went home the next day, he had a heart attack, dropped dead. He said, on top of that, on Monday, the wife called me and asked me to be the pallbearer. He said, and as I'm carrying him out of the church with the coffin, I'm thinking, you got my $100, I got no grass seed. Thank you very much. And we kind of laughed about that, but knowing my father, if he had to do it all over again, he would have still given Salvador the $100 before he finished the job, because that was just who my dad was. But anyway, words to live by. Pay a man what he's due, but pay him when he's done.
Mr. Acapini, you make me laugh so much. I thought I could just hear the wisdom in your father when he says these words to you. Pay the man what he's owed, but pay him when he's done. Pay him what he's due, but pay him when he's done. I think I'm going to hold on to that one. I think that's going to be a nugget that I will pass down to my sons as well. Next up is my good friend, Mr. Kenny Martin. Kenny Martin, go ahead and share with us what your father taught you.
Coach Cody, it's Kenny Martin. A lot of things I just learned about watching, observing. But the first thing comes to mind, I guess, is leave people a way out. If they don't want to do something, or they don't want to accept the invitation, or they don't want to include you, leave them a way out. Always leave people a way out. Also, try not to make any decisions based on emotion.
I had to ask Kenny, what do you mean when you say give them a way out? And what I loved about this was that he was saying that his father was teaching him to not hold people hostage to what you want them to do. Invite them, but allow them to, if they say, I don't want to do this, allow them that opportunity. Don't hold a person hostage. And that's something that we can all appreciate, because we've all been invited to something that maybe we didn't want to do, but we felt obligated, or we felt that if we didn't do it, then it would let people down. But if you have the spirit of, hey, I want you to be included, but I understand if you got other things to do, and I understand if you just can't make it, and you're okay with that. Okay, you're okay with that. So again, Coach Martin, thank you so much for calling in and for sharing that vital information from your father. All right, my next one, Mr. Vester. Mr. Vester, you're another one of those people that I have grown to appreciate your wisdom, your knowledge, and I want to hear what your father taught you. So go ahead and share it with us.
This is David Vester. My father was 42 years old when I was born, so he was quite a bit older than a normal father at that time. But I do remember one of the main things that he gave me and left me as a legacy was how to be a gentleman. He had been in the military in World War II and had served as an officer. So he was an officer and he was a gentleman. But he taught me how to treat each other, how to treat women, how to treat my wife, how to treat my daughter, how to treat anybody, but especially women. He was one of those guys that held the door for a woman, walked on the outside of the sidewalk with a woman, deferred to a woman. He was one of those that put a woman on a pedestal, but also treated her with respect and love and recognized her equal ability to contribute to the house, to the family. So I do appreciate that about him. He also taught me about God, about how important it was to have deep faith, how important it was to study the Bible, how important it was to go to church and to be nice to other people. I miss him every day.
Yeah. Beautiful. Beautiful. Gentlemen. That's something that most of us aren't taught to be anymore. Gentlemen. Your father taught you, and you are definitely a gentleman, one that we can all aspire to be like. And I'm sure your daughter and your wife is overjoyed to have you in their lives. And your son has had an example his whole life of what a gentleman is. So again, I thank you for being that light, that role model for me, showing me what a gentleman looks like. I would say that you have shown yourself to be faithful and to be honorable, and you're learning to honor your spouse is something that a lot of men also struggle with, because as men, we feel like we have to be in control of our wives instead of in partnership with them. And your father explained and showed you that by putting your mother on a pedestal, by deferring to her in certain situations, allowing her to feel honored and cherished as a role or as a partner in the marriage versus a subordinate. That is something that you have taken and passed down to in your life, and now passed down to your son and your daughter. So now your daughter expects of her husband what she's seen in her father. And because of that, she's probably going to have a great marriage as well. All right, my final call of the day is the one and only Brandon King. Go ahead, Brandon. Tell me what your father taught you.
Hey, this is Brandon King. Just wanted to call and just say about my father. You know, my father, he worked on the road a lot. He traveled a lot on the road, and there'll be a lot of times, a lot of weeks where we wouldn't see him. But you know, he always called. He'd always make sure that he make sure we knew he was thinking about us. But one of the biggest lessons he taught me is something I always make sure to follow up my own sons and my own family, is that you never leave a conversation, never leave a day go by without saying, I love you. And so with my father, he always calls. Whenever he called or whenever he saw us, he'll make sure to say, hey, I love you. So make sure y'all know I love you. And so that's really, really impacted me to know that as a father, to really, you know, to vocalize that love and also show that love, of course, but to make sure my sons know, my family know that I love them, because again, you know, life is very short. you never know when things might get taken away from you, and I never want to take that for granted. So every conversation, every time I see them, every time we walk away from each other, we make sure to tell each other we love each other. And also never making sure we never go, we leave each other mad or we go to sleep mad. Sometimes I might have to correct my sons before bed to make sure they do. They're supposed to do their nightly routine. But even if I get upset or even if I have to correct them, I always say, hey, this is what happened, but make sure you know I love you. Because again, you never want to take that for granted. So the biggest lesson that my father always taught me was just make sure that you tell your kids and tell your family that you love them, because you never know when that'll be the last time you talk to them.
I love this. I love it. I love the fact of remembering that when we get ready to part ways, to always say, I love you. You don't know when it's going to be your last opportunity to do so. We take all of these times for granted. And I, as a father, will no longer do that. Because of what your father taught you and you shared it with us, I am now adding this to my arsenal of fatherhood strategies, is that I will always tell my sons and my wife that I love them when we part ways. So today we got a chance to hear from several different people explaining how awesome their fathers were and the awesome things that their fathers taught them. And I'm truly grateful for everyone that called in, for all of you who sent me texts explaining how great your fathers were. I appreciate you as well. And I'm hoping that you all will share this with every father you know, because we want to encourage as many fathers as we can. There's a lot of great insight in what we discussed today and what was shared that each and every one of us as fathers can benefit from. All right. So you have listened in. I want you to share this now, but more importantly, I want you to live it. All right. So let's get busy living the life.